So when we,
You know what? I
Yeah.
guess we should start.
these four get a brownie point. Five, sorry.
Exceptional.
I'm going to give you all a candy bar.
Candy bar?
A whole bunch of them right over there. I like that. So can we just get started?
Yeah,
Okay.
we better.
So I'm supposed to be standing right here?
You should stand somewhere up here
Okay.
so that Veronica can see you.
Okay, so I'm Cynthia Gill, and I am Dean of Student Support Services here at SFCC. Let's see, I have been here since 2010, but I've been with the community college, Spokane, community college of Spokane. I think I'm going to my 20th year now. I should be getting a pin this year. Let's see. But do you mind just telling me really quickly? I know that they're taping us, but I don't know who you are. So I heard it in Eddie, and I know you're French. So just tell me who you are real quick, just so I have names. When you call me on the phone, I'll know who you are.
Hey, my name's Eric, and I teach in math. It's a four-letter word.
Right, a good four-letter word.
I'm Lindsay Lowry, and I'm teaching journalism,
Okay, very good.
student advisor for the student.
Okay, so it's Lindsay,
I'm Matt Green, I'm teaching English.
English. And then Eddie's French.
So Eddie teaching and French.
Eddie French. Okay, so I wanted to tell you, and I know Veronica, because I got to be on Veronica's screening committee. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about student conduct and Title IX. So just two things. The Vice President of Student Services, she'll be coming one of the next trainings, and she's going to talk to you more about the BIT. BIT stands for Behavioral Intervention Team. So really quickly on student conduct, I hope your classes have gone great so far. Sometimes they don't go so fine, and so I really want to encourage you, especially from my experience from last year. The best advice I kept telling faculty when they had a student issue come up is you need to go find someone seasoned in your department that knows a little bit about this, because they're going to be your best resource. Because generally, the faculty will feel kind of alone, like they'll feel like they could manage their classroom, or what do they do with a student that's not manageable. And so I think it's really important that you have your go-to people in your department. If you're in math, you're in French, if you've met somebody else who's experienced, because I can guarantee you they have experienced something like that. And when you come to me, I'm more interested in the student dealing with that, but your faculty who can help you with your classroom management or the student conduct. So student conduct, I'm going to bring it up on the screen real quick. Students are bound by student conduct, and I just pulled this off of our catalog. Okay, so this is our catalog. It sits at the bottom of every web page. It says online catalog. And right here it says rights and rules. This is where it lives. Student rights and responsibilities. There's things on purpose. If you need to know more about that. And records. But I'm more interested in just the student code of conduct. So when somebody refers a student to me for student code of conduct, generally it's an allegation at that point. So you might say, you know, a student was cheating, or you might say a student was disruptive in class, right? So you have this, what I would get is an allegation. So you would fill out a form and it says, hey, you know, this is the narrative. And then I investigate it. I look into it. I call the student in. I might even follow up and ask you as well. And I'm going to show you where the student conduct incident report lists. But what I wanted to show you really quickly, I'm in here all the time, and now standards for conduct. Let's see. So this is going to go on and on and on. On mine, I have it saved. You can please find every section. Let's see. I want to go to your issues. I think it's this one. No, it's not that one. I wanted to actually go to student conduct. Here we go. Okay, so it's number 10. So it starts right here, this number 10. This is where I'm interested in sharing with you. So academic dishonesty, disruption, abuse of self, assault, theft, hazing. And it goes on to drug abuse, marijuana. Of course, it's illegal to smoke anything on campus as far as drugs, but under 21 is also breaking the law. So that's where it lives. So if you see any of these things and it arises to you and you have a conversation with a student and you're like, hey, you know, I'm going to just handle this, that's fine. But if you refer it to student conduct, I'm going to show you where the form lives. So have you all made it to the internet? Okay. We all eventually make it there, don't we? I thought I had made it there, and I thought I had saved it here. Let's see. No, I think that's there. No, I don't want to do that. I'll just go right here. Oh, here we go. So this is in the internet. So, and I'm not going to go backwards and show you how to get there because literally it's under faculty. It says SCIR, Student Conduct Incident Report. It's an online form. And so we ask you to fill this out, and I'm the receiver of this, by the way. So if you have a violation in your class and you go through and you're like, hey, this was really messed up, what this student did, this is possibly, breaking the code of conduct, violation. So you send this in, and it's basically, the information that I need is date of incident, your name, try to get the campus correct because we have SCC in here as well. Let's see. And then sometimes you can just type a little narrative here, or you can copy and paste documents. So I'll receive this document, and again, some of them I look at it and I can see that the student just needs to be taught to. So our stance here at Spokane Falls, everything's educational. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll sit with the student and I'll say, we already have I think 4 student conducts that have come through already in the last week and a half. And so I might say something to the student like, that kind of disruption, can you get away with it in the Walmart parking lot or the Starbucks parking lot? And they'll say, well, yeah, who's going to do anything, right? But I tell them the minute you get on our sidewalk on this side of that, now you're on Spokane Falls area. And our goal is to get you ready for the real world. So everything here is going to be educational. So some of the things that I might do is just talk with them, might listen with them, but I can also do sanctions. So some sanctions, I'll give you an example. I had a student that kept bringing their little animal to class, and the animal was not a service animal. They said it was a service animal, but it wasn't. It was on the tables, it was everywhere. So I met with a student, and the student finally broke down and had paid a lot of money to do a service animal over online, which is a scam, right? And so for her assignment, I said, hey, you need to go to the library and research what is a service animal and how do you get a service animal? Because she was doing a training purpose stuff, which doesn't exist. You have to, something has to be documented. So she had gotten a little vest for the dog and was trying to work with it. So something like that, it's educational. In some cases, we suspend a student right away if it's something that's so behavioral and so volatile and it's affecting other people that we may say, okay, you're off campus until I can do a behavioral contract with you. And I try to get it done right away. So those are the type of things we do, but if I can leave you with this, if you're not quite sure, you can always call me up. It's Cynthia V. Hill. These guys know who I am. Most people know who I am because I've been here long enough. But just call me up and you can talk to me over the phone about it. And I'm happy to advise you over the phone. But if you feel like, yeah, this is it, somebody tells you you should put in a student conduct incident report, this is what that document is. And again, it's an allegation until I check it out. And then I usually run back to you and say, hey, I resolved it, it's done. So any questions on this part of it? Yes.
Now, faculty at their own discretion can expel a student for up to 3 days.
Suspend a student.
Do they need to fill this out if they do kick a student out for some amount of time?
Usually you have to submit a form, yes. So anybody can suspend up to 3 days, and people have done that. It can be for something pretty serious on the student, but anytime after that, I think up to 9 days, I have to actually go through a disciplinary panel to do that. So yes, you can absolutely do that. You can do it for 1 day. You can do all kinds of things. If you get into trouble and it's serious behavior, which doesn't happen very often, then you call security right away. And you should have the number memorized. Just in case you need to pick up the phone and call them. We've had that happen before where a student is acting out, but it's not often. It's once in a while. Good.
Question, let's say I see someone cheating on a test, and in other universities, I would just, decide, okay, I'm going to give this as a penalty, and when it's done, I'm the jury, judge,
And so,
all that's done just by me. Should I actually give an incident report, say, hey, this person cheated, and then you do your follow-up, and then I do my stuff?
usually I will do nothing about it, but there's a little question that's there here, and it says, do you want anything done about it? You might say, no, I don't want anything done about it because I already handled it. But it's an alert that when the English teacher sees the same thing, the math student has a violation and has a violation. So you might have, a perpetual cheater. So then we want to, of course, handle that.
Okay,
So
so
that's where
that's
you get the choice and say, hey, I don't want anything done. I already handled it, but it just keeps a record. And it doesn't go anywhere. This doesn't follow the student by the way. So everything's supposed to, my stance and approach is educational, and that's what this whole student conduct is supposed to be educational. Good question. Any other questions about this before I just talk really quickly about Title IX? Okay, so Title IX has to deal with sexual harassment, right? Anything dealing with sexual harassment. And it has to be reported. So you see something, you hear something, you read something, and you have that little flag. And I always tell people there's no gray areas with Title IX, you just report it, okay? So you're reading a paper and, or you hear somebody say, hey, you know, she beat me up, he hit me, she hit me, she is doing this to me. Well, that's harassment. Could be sexual harassment, could be between genders, could be between sexes, could be any of that. So it has to be reported. So Chrissy, the Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Chrissy Jadis Jones, she is going to come in the future, but she is the Title IX coordinator. So she receives those. So if I get one, I quickly type it up and send it to her. Because my job is done. I have like sent it to her and she has to be on it and she has to look at her process. So she has a paper where she has to evaluate that. You know, is it a Title IX? It might be sexual harassment. If it's just sexual harassment and one student's harassing the other, she's going to kick it over to me and I'm going to do student conduct. And I'm going to tell the student, hey, you know, that's not okay. You know, you don't get to come on campus. You don't get to seek out people that you just want to date and drop comments and not okay. Stop that. You know. So, and I can do disciplinary, I might not if it's educational and it's like a one-time thing. But if it is sexual harassment and she looks at it as Title IX, which means that it's ongoing, it's could be violent, it could be a rape, and these things happen more than you think. Then she has to look at that. She has to put an investigation together. So the investigators that will investigate the parties. So at that point, Office of Campus Safety is involved. And then many times, if it's serious enough, that will go to, it's called SCAP, Student Conduct Administrative Panel. So it's not disciplinary student conduct, but it's Title IX. And so we just had a hearing last Monday for one that happened over the summer. And again, we look at it educational and look at sanctions on students, not both students, but the one student that is the complainant in the matter. So the big takeaway is I think you all have to do a training on it. It's mandatory, but really pay attention to it. And then if you see something, hear something, mention it to someone, it's not a gray area, just let it go. Just report it out to someone, to Chrissy Davis would be the main person. Okay?
So she's the person who we would do, like directly to touch.
Yes.
Just
Yep.
to be trouble.
Yeah, we go straight to her and I always say do it in email because it's in writing, right? You can receive email from anywhere.
Sorry to have to repeat yourself, but if there's a student that comes forward and says that the person sexually assaulted me, can they come forward to you guys and say, I don't want this to go to the police, but can you take care of this? Is there?
So the good news is we're educational, right?
Right.
So we only care about it educational. So we won't do anything. Nothing that we do is criminal. The only time I would ever get involved is if we had a student that was involved already out in the community with the police department, and we were running ours simultaneously, and could they call us in? Yeah, you know, we could be subpoenaed and all of that. But really our whole process is confidential, it's internal. There's students on disciplinary, but on the Title IX, it's going to be all faculty and staff that serve on that make the decision. And it's a confidential thing. And the students are invited, but it doesn't, that again doesn't follow them as a record per se. It's just it's filed away in our records. Yes.
This might be on the agenda for later as well, but what sort of services might we point a student to if they say, you know, identify that they're having issues, but like counseling or like what kind of different services are available?
So in Building 30, I think everybody will eventually end up in Building 30 at some point or another. Go down and meet the counselors, okay? So they're on the south side of the building. The counseling department, there's about 6 generalists that see students, and they're used to faculty walking a student over. We're open between 8 and 4, okay? So, you know, if you're in a crisis with a student and you're just like, oh my gosh, go see the counselors, we'll take care of them when they get there. We've had faculty walk the student over and drop them off. We've had faculty have somebody else go take the student or even call them to your building. So that's not very often, but it does happen. Other than that, they have a vibrant internship program with master's level students. And so those are the ones that work with students on procrastination, anger, the whole gamut. Time management, trauma, depression, anxiety. So, and they stay very busy. The interns, they have about 5 of them.
And then Amy Pollock would be the one, right, who would give resources as far as, I can't pay my rent, I don't.
Right, and so, and she doesn't have answers for everything, but she can point them in. So the college doesn't have like a fund to like always pay for emergencies, but she does manage some budgets. And so if she can help, she does. But in terms of like homelessness, food, we run a food bank right here on campus. It's open regularly. Students can walk by there and pick up food, farmers markets today. So those are always in existence here. That's just right in the student union building. It has certain hours that students can walk by and pick up some food. But as like far as shelter and all of that, then she has some resources, but they're not much different than the ones we already know. Okay, Gospel Mission, House of Charity, some of those. What she can do is work with SNAP to help maybe pay rent if they're in a housing situation, some emergency type monies of folks that she knows. So she'll at least steer them in a direction, which is kind of cool for students. So thank you for mentioning that, Donna.
Several questions in my head. On Saturday, I go take my mom to the food bank, and there's some Russians there. I saw one lady there, she had a black eye. It's like, oh. Couldn't speak Russian to her, so I couldn't find out. But if I saw a student come into class like that, like, well, the student hasn't said I was beaten up by a fellow student or by my husband or vice versa, do I?
Report that. You would report that.
Just say I see, I know she has.
Right, I mean, first of all, I would ask the student, I'd say, hey, of course I'm not in front of everybody, but ask the student what happened, are you okay? Because we have students report other students sometimes that have that, but they notice that those students hat on but has a black eye or some mark on them. So we've had students report it and we reach out to them to find out what happened.
Okay.
I've had a black eye before. I ran into a bench. Not a big black eye.
So
So maybe we don't know what the history of it is, but if it is from somebody else, yeah, then that's really reportable.
we have to report it even though the student may not have brought the incident forward.
Say that again?
So like say we see like someone in class who has a black eye, right? But the student does not want to say anything about it, we still have to report it.
No, if it's something that they disclose or you find out about it. Otherwise you'd be walking around reporting everybody that had
No,
injuries.
exactly, just
Yeah,
make sure.
so it would be reporting, yeah.
Fair enough.
Cynthia, I have a question. Can you
Sure.
guys hear me? So what about really quick, if a friend told me of a student of ours, do we report that as well? Or how would you like us to deal with that? Because it's not being self-identified, the student is not telling us themselves, but the friend.
So we're mandatory reporters, so again, that gray area, even if it's a hearsay, it's worth investigating. We have to do that, especially if we have a name. Sometimes we don't have a name, there's nothing we can do about it. But okay, so you think about this. Why are we reporting? Because they're our student, we want to make sure that they have the help they need. So it's not all about, what's the process of discipline or anything. It's more about assisting the student, right, to be successful in school. So that's why the mandatory reporting has to do with the well-being of the student, but also has to be with supports for that student. And mind you, if it's two students involved, it's support for both students. It's not just for the one reporting, it's for the responding student as well. So we extend to one student, we extend to the other. On campus, when we do a no contact order for this student, we automatically do it for this student, because they're both our students, and so it's our way of caring, of making sure that they have the services they need, and that's what it's about too. So that's why I said, if you saw someone, you'd say, hey, are you okay? If they say, hey, I fell down, then you kind of have to take that at that value. But if you know something more, and sometimes people just say, hey, can someone reach out to this student? And we do that as well. That's what the mental health interns, they'll do a lot of just reaching out to students.
I find that if you have a student in need of any of the services that Cynthia's spoken about or what Amy Pollock offers, she'll talk later, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Any of those things, that the best thing to do is to take the student and walk yourself and them over to that service that they need to find so they can physically see the building. If you want to make sure they get there, take them there. It doesn't take but 5 minutes to get anywhere on this campus.
Right.
And, hey, let's go together. I need to ask, or I need to see something over there anyway. I'm headed that way. Let's go. They get the services they need. They don't have the time to think, oh, I don't want to do that right now. You get it started. Works really good.
And sometimes if you have a relationship with a student and you say, hey, can I have somebody call you from counseling? A lot of times faculty have relationships where they'll say, hey, can somebody reach out to the student? And we reach out, that's our business. It's like, hey, just want to check with you about your academics and, what's going on, they know what they're looking for, but they can come at it in a neutral way.
Do they have counselors and things down in Pullman?
This is our counselor.
That's me. I was like, that's me.
So our Pullman person has to work with their community very closely.
Okay.
So our last counselor has to work with their community very, very closely and take advantage of any services. But we've been able to manage it thus far because the students that we had involved down there were already involved in counseling. And so she's the educational piece on the campus.
Oh, awesome.
But if we had to ever do such a situation where we had to set up Skype and all that, we have cameras everywhere. We'd have to, set something up with the student if we were going to work with them from up here, which is always an option too, Veronica.
Yes.
Okay, so it is now 2:30, so I'm going to run. I'm supposed to be somewhere else, but my name again, Cynthia Vigil. Pick up the phone. You see me around. I'm very approachable.
The spelling is Vigil.
I just didn't want to get up in the middle of the talk.
Can I take a piece of chocolate for the road?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? We would like you to do one more thing. Don't take the package. You did it. But make sure you give Connie a hard time. Connie was supposed to come speak to you guys next.
Oh.
And we had a sketch and everything for her first comes from doing the teaching square. And I don't know where she is. She doesn't know.
Thank you.
So, and next,
Hello.
we have Charday.Mills from the library.
And you know what? I'm at CCS because we're district and people tend to do SFCC. And then
I would have thought so too.
yeah, thanks. Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm Charday Mills. I'm one of 4 librarians here on campus. I'm going to pull some stuff up on our website as well. I just want to give you some resources for you as a faculty member using the library, and then also resources for students, so you're just kind of aware of what we offer. I did put some handouts on the table. One of them is kind of, we like to call it the top 5 reasons for students to visit the library. One thing is for sure, students will definitely come to the library to print, use a computer. They don't always know about all the services that we have, and you are vital in just getting them pointed in that direction. Just to point out some of the general things we have that I think are really helpful for you and students in general. At the bottom of this list here, you'll notice that we do have 60 computers in the actual library. We also have Dell laptops they can check out, Macs. So that's particularly helpful if you're ever having like a respondus test where like they have to use the browser but they need a webcam. We have a lot of students come in and ask for the laptops because they're one of the few free technology places they can get that also has that webcam in there and already has respondus downloaded. We also just have, and this is new information for everybody, we got more hotspots this year. So we officially have over about 40 hotspots, that students can check out. They can take them home. So it's something that's nice they can use in their family. Obviously they can use it for their schoolwork, but if they need access to the internet anywhere, they can come and check those out at the library. And I believe it's about a 24-hour checkout period. So we have a lot of resources for students, but we also have resources for you as well. Our library site is nice. They let us be in the drop-down menu from the top here. The section that probably is going to be most helpful for your students and for you is the Start Your Research section. This is where you can look for anything physically in our library. You can also look for articles here as well. But I really like to point out to faculty our SFCC research guides. And these are guides that we create specifically for different topics, for different departments. So if there's something that you want students to have access to as a resource, let us know. We always are willing to collaborate on the instruction side of things, but part of our job is also providing you with resources that is convenient for you as well as your students. I want to point out to you guys specifically that we do have an SFCC library news and updates page. I think this probably will be the most helpful for everybody. Let's say like a database goes down and all of a sudden you're not able to get in. That never happens, right? You can visit this page and we'll have updated information on like the authentication isn't working, or check back in an hour, we're working on it. So if you have any questions about things not working, this is the place you can go. You'll also notice on the card I handed out that there are individuals associated with each department you work in, so you can also contact your subject librarian as well. And we're happy to kind of track down what's going on. In fact, if you need anything at all, contact your subject librarian, we're here to help. On this page, we also have a list of our library workshops. So sometimes I know in some departments it's not as helpful to have like a research session, but you might want your students to be aware of, you know, avoiding plagiarism, not just a general good thing to know. So we do give cards out with these workshops. So if you want to give extra credit for attending the library workshop, we tend to get mostly students attending for extra credit. I'll take it if you're there. This year this quarter, we're focusing just basically on plagiarism in-text citation. We've noticed that students tend to get the citation creation part, but the connection between that in-text citation and then also, you know, is it in your own words? Is it being quoted? So we're actually having some focus on that this quarter, since it came up a number of times last year, the topic of plagiarism. We also have our faculty guide, and this is probably the part that will be most pertinent to you as a faculty member. On here, you can schedule a library session. Of course, you can contact your librarian as well. Probably the most helpful part here is the library reserves and purchases. So the form is on here if you want to put something on reserve at the library. We also have a section on the website here where you can put in requests to see if we can purchase materials. I'm always surprised by how little people actually use this or like request something. So definitely feel free to be like, I would love our collection to have this book or this resource. We're always happy to look into it, and if we can, we try to purchase those things. And then there's also some good information on here about like the video streaming. That seems to be a topic that comes up a lot as well. We have a number of online databases that have streaming services. But sometimes there's also workarounds, like some of our videos are actually hosted on Canvas. So you have to know how to get into Canvas and import that into your class. If you have questions about anything like that, we are happy to help. I'm gonna pause, sorry. I drank a lot of coffee right before I came in here, so I'm like, do you guys have any questions so far?
I kind of an important question, but if we want to watch free PBS videos at home, like, do these things work when you're off campus?
Oh, absolutely. So this page here connects mostly to free resources just for the streaming video part. If it's through a database, you can still watch it from home if you have your login, you as an individual or your students. We just got Digital Theater Plus, which has a number of different plays, like really nice production. I plan on watching some of them from home because, you know, you can, we paid for the right, so feel free. We also collaborate with instruction if that's something that you're interested in. We have a number of resources. Let me log into my Canvas real quick. This year I just created a information literacy toolkit that you can access through Canvas Commons. Has anybody ever used Canvas Commons before? A few head nods, a yes or no. Well, just so you know, oh, thank you, I just added to the class. Lets you download information from other courses. So just to make it easy to integrate the library into your course, we do have some resources that you can view here and then download. So just the basic, what's a scholarly article, even just how do you access the library, where are they located? So there's some pre-made modules in here that you can just import into your class. I think a lot of what we do is definitely instruction. So we are happy to come into your class, help with research skills. We can do that online, we can do that in person. But a lot of what we do too is also making resources for you so that we can assist you in your classes. So if you have any ideas or questions about how we can kind of collaborate in the way, it's the thing we like doing the most. So definitely let us know. You can contact me or reach anyone who's on that list. And you know what? I think those are the main things. That coffee really helped me get through things a little bit. I feel myself talking quickly. My apologies.
Nobody can talk faster than Cynthia.
No, I'll take it. I think those are the main things I wanted to cover. Basically, if you have any questions, let us know. I like to think you won't find friendlier people than at the library. Generally, we just want to help as best we can. Keep in mind the workshops, and then also the library page with the library guides. I would really encourage you to even just click through here and see if anything looks helpful. We have a full guide on how to create citations step by step. You'll notice that there are guides on here made specifically for instructors, for classes. We are happy to add to this, and we're also happy just to make new material for you as well. So that's something that maybe takes a little bit more time if we're actually making something from scratch. But basically, we're here to support you, supporting the students. So if you have any questions or concerns, just let us know. We are happy to help.
Are the workshops that you had posted on that flyer, they're the ones, are they the same as the college success Wednesdays?
This is different than the college success. So the college success tends to focus more on college life overall. These are more specific to research skills. Next quarter, I think we're going to be focusing a little bit more broadly on things like, how do you make an annotated bibliography? What's a literature review? Because sometimes those are things that, you go over, but it's nice to have a second voice kind of reiterating what you've said, or maybe have it from a different perspective. And these change every quarter. Any other questions?
Have you sent this out to us in mass?
Yes, so I sent out earlier, it's okay. Library instruction news email. We send out one a quarter. It will have the updated workshop information, as well as anything new like the hot spots, if there's any policy changes at the library. You can find this though on that LibGuide that is the news and updated information. We do keep an archive. Let's see, where am I? Here you go. We do keep an archive of the newsletter, so you can find the workshops listed on here directly, and if there's something that you might have a question about from the newsletter, you don't have to hunt that out in your email. You can come back to this page, and it will link you directly to the archive.
Okay.
Feeling good? Okay. Well, it's nice to meet you all. If you happen to be walking through the library and you see me, please say hello. I always enjoy it when people stop and say hi.
Exactly, check out hotspots.
It is for students since it comes from students' funds, which is mostly the general rule for most of the technology comes from the student tech fee. I know I kind of want to check one out.
As for books, faculty can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for that type of stuff, it's mostly like the laptops, the hotspots. We also have digital cameras, GoPros. Sometimes we can make an exception. It just depends on if they're all checked out, what time of the quarter it is.
I hope I'm remembering it correctly. And they can check out from SCC as well, right?
Yes, so we're a district, our libraries, even though we're on the separate campuses, their student ID cards, the general rules and policies align with SCC.
And does that, wasn't it they who have, like, you can go check out a rig, or you can check out a bucket or a shovel, and so they have things that the students and you can check out as well.
Yes, so it is a library of things. So they do everything you mentioned. They have like mixing bowls and I want to say lawnmower. That's probably not one of the things, but that gives you a variety of the type of stuff that they have. Sadly, starting this quarter, only students can check out materials. Staff and faculty cannot. And again, that's just because the student fees funded it. Sure. Up until about the summer, faculty could check stuff out. So you started just a little too.
But it's good for info for the students if they.
Yeah, it's like there's games, there's all sorts of stuff. Like they have a baking program over there, so they have all the baking materials that you can need. They have a lot of stuff. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Actually, I have a quick question. I was thinking we might love to do like a complete demo. Can we like to use the objects to do that on campus
Ooh, that's a
for
good
student purposes?
question. I would have to look into that.
So I'll send you.
Let me know, yeah. And my contact information on here. Feel free to email me.
Fantastic, thank you.
That might be a little, there might be a way around that.
Oh, it would be to show to the students, for students.
Like I said, we try to make exceptions if we can, so that sounds like a potentially good one. All right, yes.
I've heard the laptops go quickly. If we want our students to use them, that may not, is that a reasonable?
So with the laptops, they can go quickly. We have, let me see, does it say how many? We have way more Dells than we do. Yeah. So we have 60 Dell laptops and then 25 Macs. The Macs tend to be the most popular and those will probably check out by midday. The laptops we have pretty good in circulation. There's over 60 of them. Students can check out the laptops for 24 hours. They cannot renew it. They have to return it and then wait an hour and see if it's still there. The hotspots also have been very popular, but we got 30 more this year, and as of right now, they haven't all been checked out, but that also in part may be that nobody knows about it yet. You're some of the first people we've told.
I would super appreciate that. I know one of the librarians mentioned this to me. I mentioned it to class, maybe lots of students to be able to do their homework, so.
Yeah. I mean, you can connect your phone, any device that's a mobile device. Alrighty. Well,
Thank you,
thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Charday is also a member of the faculty.
Fantastic.
Yes.
She's everywhere. You'll see brown base. It's up now. She and someone.
Yes.
We have to find a new someone.
I need a new partner
Yes.
and topic ideas.
Yeah, so any of you that want to present a topic, maybe you're interested in.
Be great to be about anything.
Yes.
Yeah,
We've
had one on how to make beer at home.
Our most popular one is
Guys,
what was the one last year? The pipeline, what we got to the pipeline?
over in North Dakota.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
we had 60 people for that.
Yeah,
one.
that
So
was
should we put that you for the kind of thing?
Me.
You?
Okay.
You'll see an email come out soon. What's the dust settles of the first few weeks of classes? Do we have one here? Cool.
And Veronica, those brown bag sessions
Oh, yes.
are recorded so that you can watch them as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, you will say.
Okay, I'll do that. Well, thank you. We still have, we're obviously going to get out early. We wanted to make sure for part 3 and 4, the same kind of deal of trying to schedule them for an hour and a half. So that way our speakers are done within an hour, and then the second portion is just for anything you want. If you have questions about your class, how things are going, what do I do about this, whatever, just open it up to anything, and then whenever there are no more questions, we're done. Because we just want to make sure we're not keeping you long.
Kim, can you tell Veronica, we have that written in front of us, but I don't know if Veronica knows when the next session is going to be.
October 16th.
Can we expect the same time, so from 2 to 3:30?
You know what? We hadn't talked about that. I mean, in general, that's the best time for us, but I don't know if it's the best time for you. We really expected more people, but we really didn't have any idea how many people were coming. But so I don't know if the time's bad or what the reason is that so few.
Works well for me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why the.
Maybe I can send out a little survey thing or, survey monkey or something.
We know the AMs are always morning. The majority of all of us teach during the AMs, so. But yeah, maybe doing it at 1 o'clock. Well, I don't know. Then we have difficulties with rooms up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll just we'll try different days. One's a Tuesday, one's a Wednesday. So we thought, well, try a different day each time and see how that works out.
So Veronica, the second one is November 7th, or the fourth one, I should say.
Okay.
And we'll have different speakers each time. We'll have the Vice President's Student Services and our boss, the Vice President of Learning. Probably get the President to one. Amy Pollack from the Workforce and all the services she provides. Connie Carlson was going to come today. She'll, I'm sure, come to another one.
Pittman.
That's, oh, well, now it's Pittman. Yep, yeah. Kind of Pittman. But she is, hopefully we'll get her to the next one, because if you have students who are struggling and you need to, gosh, I want somebody else to know about this student or not coming to class, whatever, her program can help rescue some of those. So
They have the early alert program.
Who else? Our union rep, Bev, probably invite her to. Oh, and Ken DeMello, security. Security is a big part of many things in
Safety
student
and
success and
security,
safety. And he's usually a pretty engaging guy too. Usually talk 5 minutes and a half hour later he's still going. But he has just a lot of stuff to share. And so we'll get him here. So hopefully we'll make it worth your time and give you time to ask anything you have. So if you have something come up in between, make sure.
And he'll be providing just open sessions. Usually he does it once a quarter, doesn't he, as far as,
Well, there's a variety of different workshops security puts on, like active shooter response. What do you do in that situation? That's done by his department. Different things like that.
yeah, and if you have a physical confrontation in class or something like that.
Otherwise, me and Donna are the co-chairs of faculty development this year. And just to give you some of the things that we provide, the biggest one is faculty development funds. For anything you want to do that's professional development related, and we are not too scrutinizing on, is that professional development or not? I sent out the link just last week with teaching squares and faculty development funds. Click on it, it'll take you to the guidelines, and you can see it's only a page and a half long on guidelines that let you know what, basically there's a few things we cannot fund that the state doesn't allow us to use state money for, but otherwise it's pretty open. And are any of you tenure track?
No.
So then all of you are eligible for $600, because our tenure track folks, they're only eligible for $450 because they have another pot of money through the vice president's office. So we try to do our best to take care of all our adjuncts and initial annualized, because for annualized, you can't use that fund until you've been here 2 years. But after that, then you get to use that money.
One of the things that it cannot fund is if you have to have a certification, you can't use that money to pay for continued licensing or certification.
We can't pay for college credit. So if you want to take a class at Eastern, that's what we, I mean, there is a program that Grace Lee just sent out information about from district about how you can get some funding to do any public school education at a real discounted rate. So if that's something you're interested in, but ours is if you have a workshop you want to go to, some guest speakers in town, whether you want to go to a conference.
And so right now, we're allowed the first phone, right? For annualized people, it would be like $350, right?
600.
600, fantastic.
Yeah, we treat annualized and adjuncts exactly the same, and give them the full amount until you're eligible for the other funds. Then we treat you out
later.
get 450 like the rest of.
Yeah, because they get 1,500, right?
Question.
And so, just to clarify the guidelines, it doesn't necessarily have to be on education, like, if there was some journalism conference about journalism skills that would help me to train
Exactly.
students that.
Yes.
Because in the application, it's a very short, sweet application, usually takes about 10 minutes to fill out. But then at the bottom, we have 5 core themes that kind of govern everything we do here at Spokane Falls, which you probably heard by now. Our 2 big ones are excellent instruction and student learning and student success. You have to pick at least one of those 5 and then just write your own little info blurb of how does it relate to that core theme, which as instructors, it's pretty easy to do. Either A, it's good for our students, or B, it's going to make us a better instructor.
And here's how I'm going to share the information when I finish this thing.
So the form is to be found on which website?
That webpage I sent you, or on the faculty development intranet page. So if you go to the faculty page, there's one called committees, and under committees is faculty development. All the links are there as well.
So if I go to the employee portal,
Port hole. Don't fall in the port hole.
and then this committees.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There we are.
And then-
So there's the faculty development funds, because the application and guidelines are together, because you actually have to scroll through the guidelines before you can click on the application, just so that way people can't tell you, well, gosh, I didn't know that was in the guide. Well, actually, you can tell me that a lot. But I know they at least saw them because they couldn't get to the application without going through the guidelines. And the guidelines are actually only a page long. That second page is just an example of a potential word for each of the 5 core themes. Just
Yeah, these
so
are just
people have an
sample
idea.
blurbs.
What are we looking for, or something like
That make you seasick, yeah?
that. And then the next big thing we offer is teaching squares. And that you can participate anytime, any quarter. We try to get folks from different departments ideally, so that way you can get out of your own area. And you just, in a perfect square, we'd have 4 people, and so you'd visit each of their 3 classes. Sometimes we have triangles, and we only have 3, or if we have 5, then we just join all 5 of them. It's only about 5 or 6 hours of your time over the quarter, but you get to visit 3 other or several other faculty classrooms, and then they come visit yours. And it's on you schedule it. You pick when to come out, right, and show up. And it's totally not evaluative. It's just purely collegial, just an opportunity to see other people's classes, get some ideas, and just meet some new folks. It's about day, and then we pay you $125 a quarter.
Is there a deadline for wanting to do that, not this quarter, but for winter?
Well, I'll send it out every quarter and try to then get everyone that's going to participate within the next couple weeks. So hopefully next week, at least by the week after, I'll group up folks so that way they still have time in their quarter to figure out when they can visit each other's classrooms.
And with the teaching, whereas do you, I'm assuming I find the other faculty members.
Nope.
How do you say how long I'm willing to be randomly?
You just fill out an app and say, I want to participate.
Oh, okay, I thought I had to find.
And then you can, because sometimes we've had instructors that are all working on a similar project, and they're like, gosh, could we do a teaching square together? And that way we can even get a little payment for doing this collegial work. And so, sure. So you can, there's a spot on the form of, do you have others that you want to do this with? But otherwise, no.
Okay, thank you, that helps.
Try to group
The sharing of information or use of faculty funds usually sort of look like a.
You can either write an article for the faculty development newsletter that comes out quarterly. You can present at a brown bag and share what you heard or saw. You can, hopefully you would all share with your department anyway about what happened. What else?
You could do a group thing. Like if several of you go to a conference, you could do a panel session.
You could do
So
a panel, yeah.
Go together. And you don't have to be one of those things, but you have to be willing to. So you have to check a box saying, yes, I am willing to. And then at the end of the year, everybody who does do one of those things, we automatically count them. And then we'll randomly select other ones and say, all right, we need you to do one of these things.
And you might hear from Sade when she's trying to put together her brown bag schedule. Say, hey, I noticed that you clicked that you would do a brown bag. Can you present on this in next month?
For our accreditation, we try to say we actively measure the value of our professional development. This percentage of faculty came back and shared. And sometimes you might go to something that was maybe a dud. Well, that's good to know too, because it's not evaluating you and your ability to get money in the future. It's just saying, maybe that's not worth sending people to. It's not. And sometimes like our health folks across the street at Magnuson, they'll go to a thing about new bandage techniques. You know what? That probably is not something that
The
rest of
general.
the campus really is interested in, so we wouldn't ask them to come to a brown bag on it. But that doesn't mean we wouldn't fund them to go do that, because it's valuable for them, profession. So, yeah, it's a nice perk, because I know not every college does that, and we're really glad that we continue to get that money. It's sure times are a little tight, but it's written into our accreditation that we will support faculty with professional development, so hopefully we keep hold of that funding. Those are two of the big.
Is there anything else going on in your quarter so far that you have questions about as far as, rosters or students or how to, procedures for something? Everything's going all right? Yeah? Okay,
Great.
great.
Obviously the overachievers, you're here. And Jessica.
Veronica.
Veronica.
Yes, people that are, no, we were just saying you guys were overachievers.
Oh,
Yeah, probably the people that aren't here are just trying to deal with problems themselves instead of coming here to ask for help.
Okay, so have you been contacted by your mentors?
Yes.
I'm in the process of finding who my mentor is, but
Okay.
Okay, and Matt has not?
Zach is in the process
Oh.
of figuring.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure John Whitmer, who we met at the first orientation, he has already contacted all the department chairs of the new hires to ask who they are. Once he finds out who they said, you and your mentor both can email us some guidelines.
And Veronica, you have support and counseling?
I have support from not only my staff here, they've been amazing, but also I'm able to call the counseling center there on Spokane as well.
Great. Great, great. All right. Is that an amen?
I think so.
Amen.
All right, we finished
Thanks so much for coming.
25 minutes early. Sure.
Thank you.
If you don't have something to say, let them go.
We got months and they didn't.
Yeah.
Yes, and Veronica will get her coffee mug and her car magnet.
Yay!
Hey. All right, thank you, Veronica.
If you want some
Thank you for
perspective-
having me. Appreciate it.
We'll do this again next time. Bye.
Does this make?
Bye.
Bye-bye.